What up? What up, my guy?
Bro, do you keep changing the music on the countdown?
Nah, it changes automatically. I ain't do that.
That is terrible.
Hey, StreamYard said, hey, they gonna take care of us. They gonna be our DJ. But what's going on, man?
Man, another day, another dollar.
Yeah, I hear that. So as y'all know, we kicked off the promoter series last week with just me and Jamal, but this week, of course, we are starting to bring the promoters on. So I think this show in particular has a very close space for me because I think for the past, 4 or 5 years, I had my hand in the hat with the winning. So um, I'm happy to have this promoter on and representing the show. So if you guys are not aware of the show, it is the OCB No Gear Classic. So I got the flyer. Let me see if I can find this flyer. Got the flyer. So May 17th, 2025 will be the No Gear Classic. It is the Pro Am. I think they have. I will let the promoter speak on all the things they have. Let me not over talk. You know what I mean? So we have a what is it called? We call it a repeat offender. Somebody who comes on our show often or have been on here multiple times. So
Right.
this person don't need no introduction. I'm gonna give him one. The two-time, right? Two-time Yorton Cup champion in two different divisions in figure and women's physique. The Jessica Powell.
Well, that was quite the introduction. Thank you, Eric.
How you
I try
doing?
my best. I try my best. But how are you?
Appreciate that. I'm good. I'm good. I hope you guys are well.
Always.
We are. So welcome on. Of course, when we started the promoter series, we haven't had you on in the past 2 years, but this is a show that I think we have to say is one of the biggest shows in the OCB, in my opinion, for the past few years, or even I don't know how long the show's been going. You could kind of give us a backstory on it, but it's been one of the biggest shows that I have seen, next to the Presidential and the Yorton Cup. So, can you give us a brief history on the No Gear Classic?
Sure. So my dad has been competing since like before I was born. He started competing in college, and at the time there were no tested organizations. It was only NPC. And I guess he realized at a certain point that he had gone as far as he could go as a natural athlete, so he stopped competing. And then I guess it was back in like 2000 is when he started competing again. So I was in middle school, and I just remember being so excited to go watch him compete. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever that my dad was a bodybuilder. And he found the OCB. They were a tested organization. He met Matt Shepley and really believed in his vision for natural bodybuilding. And after he competed with the OCB, he won the first ever Yorton Cup for men's bodybuilding. He decided to talk to Matt about promoting a drug-free show in North Carolina because there were none. So the OCB No Gear Classic was the first ever drug-tested show in North Carolina. That was in 2005, I believe. And we only had like 17 competitors. And my dad had like no budget for the show. And so we just like recycled all of his personal trophies. Like we took the nameplates off and had new nameplates made and just like replaced them on his trophies. So that's why he doesn't have like a trophy case or anything, because most of his like he doesn't own anymore. I was the expediter for the first 2 years of the show, which is crazy because I couldn't imagine expediting the show now at the size that it's at. But yeah, it was the first ever drug tested show really in our region, not even just in North Carolina. And now what are we, 20 years later, there's shows all over North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, that are drug tested, which is awesome. So I would say that the No Gear Classic kind of catapulted that movement, with natural bodybuilding in this southern region. And yeah, every year it just gets bigger and bigger. I would say that 140 like actual competitors is probably definitely one of the biggest shows in the OCB. But we've been around for a long time. We do our best to put on a really good show, and I think that's why our numbers are where they're at.
Absolutely. All right. You just said that the show get bigger and bigger each year. Why do you think the athletes keep coming back to the no gear? And what made you want to put your hand in the no gear and be a promoter? Because we all know you're a hell of an athlete. So what made you want to go over to the promoter side also?
Well, I didn't really have a choice. As the show got bigger, we just needed more people to help, facilitate. So, um, after a certain point, my mom started having me help with administrative stuff. It started with just me helping set up the venue and, helping with check-ins and things like that. And now, I do a lot of the administrative work. And I organize all of the prizes, the trophies, everything. I do a lot more of the organizational stuff now than I used to. It wasn't something that I was necessarily interested in getting into. I just kind of segued into it because I was helping my parents out. But I started helping to promote the show before I started competing. It was actually the year that Marianne won her pro card at our show that I was like, I think I want to actually do a bodybuilding show. So it was like later that year that I started my prep. I believe it was later that year that I started prep for my first show, but I've been helping promote for years before I decided to compete.
Okay. And we spoke about like kind of our experiences from an athlete perspective, because of course neither one of me or Jamal are promoters. But what do you think makes a good experience for an athlete at the No Gear?
What we've learned over the years is a massive amount of patience. Most of the people competing in your show are amateurs, and a lot of them are first-time competitors. And, I just remember being a first-time competitor and, being nervous and feeling stupid. Like I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't understand how things flowed. And, every show, even within the organization, is run a little bit different. And so, knowing that as a competitor, that's something that we try to do as promoters. Yes, we sent out the email. Obviously, this person didn't read it, but they're asking questions that were answered in the email. You don't respond with, a snide attitude. You just respond with patience and gratitude that they're, choosing your show, because there are shows all over the place. They could choose any show to do. So, you should feel honored as a promoter that athletes are choosing to do your show. And I think that the experience for the competitors is what matters more than anything. If your main priority is providing a good experience, then I really feel like you can't go wrong when you're promoting a show.
Absolutely. So I've been to a lot of shows and setting up, helping the promoter set up and everything. And when you think everything is going right, that one little thing can go wrong. So how do you deal with like the unexpected, challenges that come up the more in other shows?
We've had some really bad things go wrong over the years. Sometimes people don't even know that it happened. Sometimes it's incredibly obvious, like the year that the AC went out in our venue, like 2 days before the show. We put a lot of money into doing everything we could to rectify that, and there was just nothing we could do. The only other option would have been to cancel the show, and we didn't feel like that made sense. So, like I said, sometimes people know when things go wrong, sometimes they don't. We're lucky when people don't, but my dad was always a very just like stable, emotionally stable person. And so, when things would go wrong and my mom and I would get emotional and, get worked up, he would always just kind of level us out. So not having him this year is going to be a challenge. He was always the voice of reason when quote unquote shit would hit the fan. So but yeah, I mean, some things you can't avoid. Some things are like a learning process. But some things like the AC, I mean, you just can't avoid that. But you live and you learn. I mean, every year we learn something a little bit better, learn how to do something a little bit better. And, we want to provide a better experience every year. So it is a learning process.
Gotcha. All right. So we have one more question, then we'll go into first call out. But I think I want to lead with more so because we just talked about unexpected things, right? But what was the best advice that maybe another promoter may have gave you, or maybe that some advice that maybe your dad had gave you about promoting before, in years prior that you can share, to put on a good show?
One thing that my dad was really big on was taking care of the people who help you out with your show. You can't just run a big show like that with a handful of people. It takes lots of kindness and generosity, and we have volunteers, and we try to pay people as much as we can that help us out. We don't want to just like beg people for help and then they show up and they're there all day and not they don't feel like they're getting anything out of it. So we try to really take good care of the people that help us out, and just building personal relationships with the athletes. Those are the things that make athletes want to come back to your show, when they like you. My dad was a very likable person. I think a lot of people in the natural bodybuilding industry really looked up to him. So I think that was another reason why a lot of people wanted to do his show. And I mean, we have people who've been doing our show for 15 or more years. So I think that just the relationships you build are what's so important with both the people who are working your show and the people who are participating in your show.
All right. So Jamal will ask the first question, but of course we're moving to first call out. What you got, Jamal?
Mine is pretty simple. So the No Gear logo, it's like a shield, like a crescent with 4 different individual logos in it. Can you kind of just explain that logo to everyone?
Why would you ask me that? Come on, I didn't design this logo. So, okay, but I will do my best. So this here with the with the flexing arm and Will Power, that's a shirt that someone had designed for him when he first got diagnosed with his cancer. So I'm assuming that's why they put it on there. This down here is just 2 bodybuilders flexing, just a man and a woman flexing. And then these are just OCB symbols. So I don't think it's really anything like specific to our show necessarily.
Okay.
But the reason we kind of went with this is because I don't know if y'all have noticed, but like our backdrop for our stage is a castle.
It's crazy.
We used to give out like swords and stuff, and then everybody started giving out swords. So we kind of tried to start moving away from that. We started adding the shields in. We made sure Eric got his sword when he won. But we've kind of moved towards medals now, and then giving out like, putting more of the money towards like the check-in stuff, pro bags, that kind of stuff. So if you get a medal at the No Gear and you're in an open class, then you'll get a medal that looks like this.
Nice. Okay.
See, she spoiled my question. So of course I was gonna say, I got one of these pretty things over here. And it's so nice, guys. I've been waiting years for this thing. But I think, can you give us a quick story on, it seems like every time we give someone a sword, like I've been there multiple years, every time you gave someone a sword, they never knew what to do with it. So do you have any funny stories about the No Gear and the awards that you guys give out?
I don't know that we have necessarily any funny stories. I will say that we get questions every year, like, how do I fly with this thing? Am I going to be able to take this weapon on a flight? We've had people that didn't know they were actual swords, and they pull them out and start swinging them around and, like accidentally like hurt somebody with them. That has happened before backstage. So if you are coming to the show and you don't know, they are real swords. They do cut. I will say there was one year that we had women's figure. I think, we had men's bodybuilding and women's figure. That was 2 years that we did it. And I competed one year. I won the overall and I won a shield. And then the next year when we were taking all the trophies to the venue, we realized that one of our shipments of shields didn't come in. And we were one shield short. So I had to give away my shield. So I don't actually have my shield from when I won the No Gear the year that I did it. But I mean, I guess I could always buy another one.
Yeah, I have mine back here. You know, you
I
see
see it.
it
That's
right
what
back
made me.
there.
That's what made me remember. I was like, wait, I never got mine.
I want to give a quick backstory on the my sword because I have a sword picture. I think you commented it on the day before because at first I was just staring at it like a little kid, and then it's just like I hit this pose on stage, and they're like, "How did you know what to do with that sword?" I was just like, "Because I've been practicing with a broomstick for the past 2 weeks." So I'm gonna find the picture and make sure I post that with this episode.
Yeah, especially like for me, like as a female athlete, I would probably just use it as almost like a cane prop. Like I would probably pose and then just like hold it up next to me. But like I feel like the guys should probably like hold it overhead. Or didn't you like what?
I hit like the ninja thing like this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I thought that was great. You're the only person who's ever done that. So
I was prepared. You got it, Jamal.
So being a promoter, we know the venue is like a big thing. That's like one of the main things being a promoter. No Gear has an awesome venue. I was there last year. It was a complete vibe. Off to the side, they got like a little snack bar or whatever. So how was y'all able to find that venue?
Well, so it's a big event. The whole venue itself, like it's a massive venue. There are event centers all over the place. That was just a brand new one. It's only been here for 3 years, I think. But the woman who is head of event planning for that building is someone that we know through CrossFit. And so she reached out to, or we reached out to her when we realized that she was in charge of that building, just to kind of get a price point and, you know, see what we were allowed to have in the venue. Literally, we did that like 2 days after the No Gear ended the year we had the issue with the AC. We just knew like, okay, schools don't care about this. They're not making a lot of money. I mean, it's really inexpensive to hold an event at a school. They're public buildings. Everyone pays taxes that go to those schools. So, I mean, it's really inexpensive to promote at a school. That's the incentive. But because they're not making a lot of money, they don't care if things go wrong. Like they're just like, well, just deal with it. You're not paying that much to be here. And, you know, but we knew that working with the Coliseum that there would never be an issue with the AC going out or, you know, heat being an issue, electricity, like none of that stuff was ever going to be an issue. The downside is it is incredibly expensive, significantly more expensive than our previous venue. But like Jamal said, there is like a specific vibe. You know, I remember asking like, hey, can y'all serve alcohol here? And they're like, yeah, if you want us to. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see if anybody wants it. And, you know, I look over at like 11, 12 o'clock and people are like taking shots and buying beers and stuff. So, you know, as a kid, I just remember being so bored at my dad's shows because they just go on and on and on and you're just sitting there. But like as an adult, I feel like there's more incentive to go and watch a show, you know, if you know you can have a drink and hang out with your buddies and, you know, it's more of like an entertainment vibe than just, you know, sitting in an auditorium with house music. So
No, absolutely. And that's what I was thinking last year when I seen it. I was like, yo, this feel like you're like at a it's like they had that NFL type of college football type of atmosphere because you just see people over to the side drinking, just enjoying the show.
well, I love to hear that. That's what we were going for.
All right, and we're gonna move into the last call out. I know I have 2 questions, so I know Jamal is gonna have a few as well. All right, so as we know this on the outside of promotion that, of course, our organization and natural bodybuilding is built on relationships. Whether it's your expediting team, your judging team, whether it's your relationship with coaches to get them to bring athletes to your show. But I think the one thing that most athletes always fear is judging. So, how do you guys decide your judging panel? And is there, especially since you're a pro-am, it's super important to have the proper judges. So, how did you guys, vet your judges and decide on your judges?
Well, the good news for us is that my dad has made a name for himself in the organization. So he's built a lot of relationships and connections over the years with a lot of athletes who are, seasoned. It's important to us that the judges that are on the panel are experienced judges. As promoters, we're able to see consistencies among the judging panel. If there's ever been a year where we invited a judge out and their judging sheets just looked completely different than everybody else's, that might be somebody we don't invite back, to be completely honest. But there are a few things that, like, I feel like if they're not perfect, then your show's not worth having. And I feel like that's judging, and I feel like that's lighting, and I feel like that's the way you treat your athletes. And what's the point in putting on a show if you don't trust the judging panel? What's the point of putting on a show if the lighting sucks and your athletes are going to look like shit? So my dad definitely took judging very seriously. And as I said, we try to pick judges that are experienced and judges that we've had in the past so that the judging looks consistent from year to year at our show.
I like that.
Just to piggyback off. Oh, go ahead. You got something to say?
No, I was just saying I agree. Like, I've been there the past 5-6 years, so yeah.
Just to piggyback off of that, Eric mentioned the judges, but what about like the expediters and the other staff that you have around there? Because those are the main ones that's interacting with the athletes, the competitors. So you don't want to have like a rude, stuck up, staff around you. So once again, I know you mentioned it earlier. You say, y'all got just genuine people around you, but how do you go about picking the people that actually help you backstage that's going to be interacting with the athletes?
Well, what I'll say, I think we got really lucky with the expediters that we're using now. You guys know Todd and Will Carter. Will Carter comes in MCs for us. People love his accent, so that seems to work out, and he does a good job with it. Todd, y'all know him and his corny jokes. He's just like a good time. He's a really positive, upbeat person. And the feedback that we would get from competitors is that they really enjoyed their experience backstage. So that tells us that the expediters are doing their job. The show always runs smooth with Todd back there. He's very communicative. And over the years, our family has built a very close relationship with Todd and Will Carter. And so we trust them to do a really good job. We had a expediter before that had done it probably about 7 or 8 years. He suffered like a massive stroke and was no longer able to do it. And Todd at the last minute stepped in and offered to do it, and he's been doing it ever since. So we got really lucky with that. And again, we obviously kept him because the feedback from the competitors, in reference to their backstage experience was so good. So we try to, again, pick people that we know and trust, and then stick with people who we get good feedback from the competitors on. But yeah, this is the competitor show. Like, we're not going to put up with nonsense from people backstage working, it's not about you. I don't care about your feelings, or I don't care how difficult your job is. Like, it doesn't matter. We're here for these athletes, and we're here to provide an experience for them. So anybody who doesn't have that vision, we don't need you.
No, I like that. So my last question, and this is more so because these episodes are more so for people to know who's behind the show, like who's the promoter, put a face to it. So then that way, I think athletes really band together when they know who they're truly supporting. That along with coaches as well. So what is a piece of advice you would give to an athlete, seasoned or unseasoned, right? That is thinking about or going to come to the No Gear?
Come ready. Because the athletes really show up. We have some serious talent at the No Gear every year. Especially with the pro men's, they always bring it. It's always really exciting to watch. I would say that probably the most hype we get is around the men's physique category, the men's pro physique category. That's always the biggest division at the No Gear, and it seems like it's the most competitive lineup. But yeah, it's a big show. I would say if you're a serious athlete, this is the one to come to. But it's also a great show for a new athlete because we do try to, cater to everything you need. And, we're really patient, and, any questions that you have, we're happy to answer. So really, to me, it's a great show for anybody, like you said, seasoned or new, pro, amateur, whatever. We just, I think, provide a good experience for athletes all around.
Well, I'm not going to let you just tiptoe about what you just said. Talking about the men's physique is usually the one who bring it. Classic was pretty good last year and it was deep. So
It was.
don't be
And I'm
trying to
not.
disrespect Classic.
You said it was. You said it was
absolutely
pretty
not.
good, but the Yorton Cup champion actually competed at the No Gear last year. So we just saying.
Who?
Derek, he won the Yorton last year.
He competed at No Gear?
He won No Gear last year.
Oh. So moving on. We all know, yo, y'all are crazy.
I actually can't breathe right now.
That is wow. No disrespect. I didn't remember he won No Gear last year. That's all I was saying. But y'all are crazy. So moving on. We all know that your dad is a legend. He's the GOAT in the OCB. So will there be anything special at No Gear this year, in his honor?
Yeah, we're thinking about different ways that we could go about it. One of the things that we do that probably not a lot of people know is that every year we do as sort of just an experience for the spectators, we do like a fitness competition every year at the No Gear. Like it's usually like, deadlifts or assault bike calories or burpees or, some whatever. So we may try to do kind of like take that a step further and do like a Metcon in my father's honor. Y'all know he was really big into CrossFit. He was a CrossFit 5-time CrossFit Games winner. So that's something we're considering. And then, a lot of shows are awarding or giving out awards in honor of people that, maybe symbolize something that was great about that person, or they possess some sort of traits that this person also possessed. So that's also something we're considering. We actually talked to Jackie about that at in Hilton Head. They can make some really, really awesome awards. And we've seen some of the stuff that they've done. So that's something we're also looking into doing. But certainly any way that we can honor my father at the show, we're planning to do it. This show is big because of him and it exists because of him. I would argue that natural bodybuilding in North Carolina exists because of him. So I definitely think it's important to honor him at this show. So in some sort of way, we will be doing that.
All right. If you have a muscle up competition, I'll enter.
You want to get beat? All right. Don't act like you're too depleted on show day to try to beat me in a muscle up competition. I don't want to hear it.
Oh man.
But I think that we're gonna call that an episode because we got all the information on No Gear. So can you drop all the information? I'll make sure I post the flyer multiple times, of course, but the date and the page and also where they can find you.
Where they can find me?
Find you, the page, and the date of the No Gear Classic.
What do you mean find me? Like find me on social media?
All right, guys, you can find her at the Dragon Queen something. Here's the flyer, May 17th, 2025 in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yo, she said she don't need nobody to find her, dog.
Well, we're going to call it a wrap, guys, since she don't want to be found.
I'm so embarrassed.
Until next time, peace.
So embarrassed.